Well, I guess it caused me to not take Health 2. I was in a band for 4 years, and so I didn't have enough elective credits to take programming, but I was really interested in it. And so I took Health 2 online and basically cheesed my way through the entire thing, learned nothing, but I got to take computer science, so that was a plus, and it was definitely worth it. And other than that, I guess it's just given me like a nice thing to fall back on when it's a really enjoyable class. It's always relaxing for me because I never feel pressured because as long as you work, you don't actually get behind. And it was just a nice contrast to the other classes. Well, initially, I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to be an engineer or a mechanic or something like that. You know, one of the not necessarily trade jobs, but one of the ones that were more technical. And when I did computer science, I guess I really connected with it. I've always been into computers. I play a lot of video games. My dad works at Intel. He's not a technician or anything. He's actually a manager. But we've always had computers around, and so I've always been interested in them. And I guess I'm going to study computer science now, and I guess it just helped me focus on what I wanted to do. So I probably would have found out eventually, but it gave me an early start. Well, everyone here who's listening to this or will see this probably has a smartphone. Everyone here has probably used a computer. And in that case, since those are such big parts of your life, programming inherently has to be useful because somebody's got to make that stuff work. Other than that, I think that the idea of being able to solve problems that aren't necessarily solvable by humans is an interesting idea. Because we can solve very complicated math, but at a huge, enormous scale, sometimes it becomes impossible. And so calculating stuff like NASA launches is not really feasible to do by humans, but easy to do with computers. And I think that's another big part of programming is that you can do things that are just on a bigger scale than what people can do sometimes. I like the part where if you don't try, you mess up and fail, because the kids who don't pay attention get what's coming to them. But I also like how if you work hard, you can always get help and figure out what you need to do. And every project is very logical. And I think my favorite part is that instead of given a problem, it's more like you're given an answer and you have to figure out how to get there. And so it's a lot more open. You know, in math, and if you're doing integrals, there's one way to solve the integral, and that's it. But in computer science, if somebody asks you to make a chess game, you could choose out of hundreds of languages, you could choose out of hundreds of libraries for the visuals, and you could do it in 1,000 different ways, and I think that's what I really like about it. That one's hard for me. Most people say red-black tree, but honestly, I prefer the ones where I was a little more creative. And I think that my most proud project was probably my Java final sophomore year. I made the board game Arima. I remember we had a deal, me and my partner, that we'd both do our art, the one side of the art, and then we'd start working on the programming. And my art was horrible, but I did it in one day. And hers was beautiful, and she did it in like a week. And by that point, I basically finished the programming, so we had our game. And it worked out perfectly, and we were able to play it. And I was pretty proud of that. I suppose I've learned how to regulate my time a lot better. In C++, it's not easy, and so you do have a lot of, you have to make sure you use your time efficiently. And I always goofed off a little bit, but not enough that I'd actually get behind. And I think that was something useful that I learned, is how to goof off, but not actually get behind. And other than that, I guess it helped me with my math, definitely, because it helps you think more technically. And I guess it helped me get my internship last summer because I worked as a computer science engineer. So that was pretty good.